Now to the lawsuits filed by former President Donald Trump against Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube owner Google. The social media giants banned Trump from their platforms following the January 6th attack on the Capitol. Trump in Bedminster, New Jersey today had this to say.
I stand before you this morning to announce a very important and very beautiful, I think, development for our freedom and our freedom of speech. We're demanding an end to the shadow banning, a stop to the silencing, and a stop to the blacklisting, banishing, and canceling that you know so well. Our case will prove this censorship is unlawful, it's unconstitutional, and it's completely un-American.
And to help unpack these cases, we bring in First Amendment attorney Floyd Abrams from the law firm Cahill, Gordon, and Reindel. We thank you so much, Mr. Abrams, for joining us tonight.
Thank you. Good to be here.
So Trump says that these big tech companies violate his First Amendment right to free speech, and one lawsuit argues that Facebook is akin to a government entity. Does Trump have any chance of winning these cases?
I don't think he's got any chance. I think it's a zero matter in terms of chances of success. He wants to denounce Facebook and its competitors. This may be the best way, or he thinks it is. But as a legal matter, it's inside out. The First Amendment protects against the government saying who can speak and who can't speak. And what former President Trump is saying is he wants to get a federal judge to say, in effect, put him on. Now, that's the opposite of the First Amendment. Facebook has First Amendment rights. Twitter has First Amendment rights. And those rights include something like ABC does or New York Times does, to make a decision of who they want to have in their different fields, on the air, in their newspaper, on broadcasting, etc. So I think that it is flatly contrary to the most central feature of the First Amendment. The central feature is it is up to the entities that are speaking to decide who speaks with them, the entities that own a newspaper, the entities that own Facebook, to make their decision, which one can criticize, of course, but it's their decision about who to put on, and to import the government to say, I want a court order requiring this, is at odds with the absolute centerpiece of the First Amendment.
And Trump also challenges the law that gives these social media companies immunity from being sued over content posted on their platforms. Is it true that they're allowed to censor some speech and not others?
It is true that they're allowed to make, in the journalistic world, we would say editorial decisions. It is true that they're allowed to make the decision of not carrying someone on their platform who they think is dangerous or offensive for one reason or another. Now, in that situation, yes, Congress has gone farther than the First Amendment to protect these then new entities of what became the internet, what became Facebook, etc. And the idea of that was to get it going, because we want more, not less, speech as a generality. And if Facebook has to check out every time someone says something which could be libelous when they didn't ask them to be on, people put something on Facebook, then we're not going to have anything like the sort of internet that we have now. But that's not because of the First Amendment. Congress did that. Congress can repeal it, and it is not required by the First Amendment. The First Amendment, the message of the First Amendment is basically stay away. You're not allowed to tell us what to do. But if Congress chooses to make a decision that it's in the public interest to protect Facebook and the like in an area like this, it doesn't violate the Constitution for them to do so.
And platforms like Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube clearly have enormous power over public speech. Do you think that that's at all cause for concern?
I do think they have enormous power. I don't even think that's debatable. The way we deal with that, if we choose to deal with it as a public, is through the antitrust laws, through laws which say in some circumstances companies are so big, so powerful, so much a monopoly, which Facebook really isn't, but one can argue about the power and the like of large entities, these enormous entities with enormous power. That's all true. But the way to deal with that is not to force them to put someone on or to carry someone on its platform. The way to deal with that, if the Congress representing the people decided, is to crack down based on size or influence. And if they have to change the antitrust laws, if they choose to, they could do that. But what they can't do is violate the First Amendment.
And finally, President Trump says that he's suing to protect everyone's freedom, not just his own. Do you buy that? I mean, could these lawsuits actually move the needle on free speech protections?
It could move the needle, but it would move the needle against First Amendment protection. It would move the needle against it because it would involve the government saying, in effect, the Donald Trumps of the world have to be allowed on, even if there's a decision made by the people that run Facebook that he's advocating the insurrection. I mean, these companies, Facebook, for example, they say they don't, they try not to carry racist speech. Some of that speech is First Amendment protected when the government tries to ban it. But Facebook is allowed to do that. Indeed, they have a First Amendment right to do that. And the same is true when Facebook makes a decision, like it or not, think it's a good idea or not, when Facebook makes a decision that look, what then President Trump is saying is so dangerous to the world, we don't want it on our platforms. They have the right to do that.
Mr. Abrams, a man described by one former senator as the most significant First Amendment lawyer of our age. We appreciate your insight and your time tonight.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.